business tips to successfully start and run your business so your business doesn't run you. And more importantly, we provide personal development tools to create a better version of yourself to provide the solid foundation for your life and business to stand upon. This is the Biz Reveal, and I'm your host, Craig Sawyer. This week's episode is sponsored by Sawyer Health Solutions. Protecting what's important to you is what's important to us. Get your free health insurance quote at SawyerHealthSolutions.com. As an edu-trainer and best-selling author, Marissa Pei has been introduced to Oprah Winfrey as the Asian Oprah and has had many A-listers on her own podcast. Marissa can make anyone feel uplifted and better about life with her humor and passion, and discusses how her book, entitled Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, can help you be the best version of yourself that you can be. After the show, learn more at www.drmarissa.life. This is the Biz Reveal podcast with this week's guest, Marissa Pei.
Hi, my name's Dr. Marissa, and I was actually introduced to Oprah as the Asian Oprah by Michael Bernard Beckwith. So that's how people refer to me. I'm an organizational psychologist. So I have a PhD, which stands for Piled Higher and Deeper, in organization psychology, which qualifies me to talk about human dynamics at work. So everything from power to politics to miscommunication and conflict, all things that never happen in any of the organizations that you work with, I'm sure. I get to talk about those with companies as well as leadership, and also how to have more joy and less stress at work. So because of that, and because I'm so shy, I also have a weekly syndicated talk radio TV show on CNBC, NBC News Radio, KCAA. I am on my 465th consecutive week on the air, and the show's called Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Happy, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. And the happy theme comes from my number one bestseller called 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are, which was written right before actually a year before the pandemic. And I was on tour with it in China, 10 miles from Wuhan in November. So I don't have it. Don't worry. I'm half vaccinated now, but, because the tour was grounded, literally, I've taken to the airwaves to continue my Happy 88 mission, which is 8 million more happy people in the next 8 years.
I love that.
That's me.
I love that. And thank you for the intro, because I wanted to focus today on the happiness part, because, and I know that you know this and everybody else knows this as well. Happiness has been pretty hard to come by over the last year. Everything in our lives has changed. I don't think there's an aspect of life that has not been affected by the pandemic. So thank you for what you do and kind of spreading the happiness around and tips for being happy around it. And that's what I wanted to focus on today, not only because of that, but because I also have some of my own struggles with making myself be happy. I have a great life. Why am I not completely happy? And I am happy, but it's so much easier to focus on negative aspects of life. So you have the PhD.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit.
Which I told you is piled higher and deeper. So don't use that.
So tell me a little bit about what you know about why it is so much easier for us to focus on the negative than it is the positive.
It's a number of reasons. One reason is it's a habit now. So many of us have a normal habit, which kind of rose out of a survival instinct. If you think about our early, cavemen life, if you walked into a situation that you weren't familiar with, your MO, or as standard operating procedure, is to scan and look for differences. And differences usually meant a threat. Woolly mammoth, death. Saber-toothed tiger, death, right? Other cavemen with bat, death or maiming. Right. So we're, to be fair, we're kind of primed to notice things that are wrong, right? But I don't know the last time you saw a saber-toothed tiger coming after you,
been a few days.
A woolly, yeah. So that habit, that useful strategy to stay alive is no longer necessary. It's kind of like you build a raft when there's a lot of turbulent water. A lot of abused kids as children have coping devices to navigate that treacherous water. But as adults, there's no more water, but we're still carrying and dragging that raft. So in the similar way, we're carrying that habit or that survival mechanism when we don't need it. So if we're into worst case scenario, we notice things that are wrong. We notice things that are bad. We notice things that we don't like. It becomes a habit because what you expect to believe, this is the second reason, it's a psychological phenomena called Pygmalion effect. So Pygmalion effect is simply the opposite of I'll believe it when I see it. That's a common expression, right? Pygmalion effect is I'll see it when I believe it. So if you carry around, and especially now with the pandemic, that life sucks, that life is unfair, that shiitake happens on a regular basis, that people are out to get me, that Mother Nature hates me, or the universe is unfriendly. If you carry that BS, if you carry that belief system long enough, and it doesn't take very long, law of attraction says 16 seconds, you hold a belief for 16 seconds and another one like that will come. So if you spend a minute thinking about worst case scenario, guess what? That's all you're going to see. And you will notice things that confirm your BS about worst case scenario. So that's why when I work with my clients, we want to adopt pronoia to replace paranoia. Because now, no thanks to the pandemic, if we had a bad habit before,
yeah,
it's really ingrained in us now. And third reason, we have a tendency to be drawn to the horrific, to be drawn to tragedy. And media knows that. So if it bleeds, it leads. Now, everything's bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
So we're inundated. If you wake up in the morning and are like the normal person and pick up their device and start doing this, it's going to be really difficult to see anything positive.
See, and that's the first thing that I've heard from other interviews I've done about this is the absolute number one worst thing you can possibly do when you first wake up in the morning is get on Facebook and start scrolling because there's
Correct.
so much negativity there. So it starts off your day in that way.
Exactly. And we have gotten lazy. We let media, people blame the media. Sweetheart, the media is not to blame. You choose, you're the boss of you. I have a little weekly broadcast, an interactive one called Mind Your Own Business, because we don't mind our own business. We're constantly, all our attention is being, what's it? Squirrel, post, negative, Capitol Hill. Blah, blah, blah. So we have lost our muscle in saying, hold on. What do I want to do right now? Right now, I just woke up. I'm going to choose to sit up. I'm going to choose to take a breath. I'm going to choose to take a bite of Dr. Marissa's gratitude sandwich that forces me to think of 8 specific things that I am grateful for right from get-go. So I sit up and I think of, I can't say friends and family, that's too general. So specifically, I'm so grateful for this incredibly comfortable comforter that I have. My mattress, my pillow, the roof over my head. I know when I go get my coffee, there's creamer there and my favorite coffee. We're up to 5, right? I know that I can brush teeth. I can brush my teeth. I have electricity. Simple things that anchor my wake up with gratitude. And gratitude's the quickest spoonful of gratitude makes any kind of day go up. Okay. So anything that you are grateful for will immediately kickstart your energetic feeling, which then leads to better feeling thoughts, which then leads to a better feeling day. Now, then you're going to have your day at the bottom of the day, and people forget. They wonder why they can't sleep. They wonder why there's an epidemic of sleep problems. It was way hashtag BC19. We had this problem way before COVID. So we don't sleep because what do we do at the end of the day? I should have done this. I should have done that. I didn't get this done. I forgot to do this. And how dare they say that about me? And so all of that will keep you from sleeping. So the last thing I do in the gratitude sandwich, the bottom part of the bun, is what are 8 specific things that I appreciate about myself? Because if you cannot approve of you, how the fork do you expect other people to approve of you? And this is a pandemic of the mind. We have had a year to get good with me. And that's the opportunity. I wrote an article at the beginning of the pandemic on Medium published. It's called COVID, an opportunity for a lifetime. So if you've never had time for you, you had a year to look at you. Do you like yourself? 88% of the time. Are you good with yourself? 88% of the time. Do you cut yourself some slack? 12% of the time. So this whole idea of, am I okay with me, is so important to happiness, because it doesn't matter if you're not good in here, then of course you're unhappy everywhere you look because you're carrying your own eyes. So my guess is that I'm going to do a little free analysis.
Let's do this. Let's do it. Let's dive. Let's go.
My guess is you're an overachiever. You're a little bit of a perfectionist. Actually, no, that's wrong. You're a lot of a perfectionist. Okay. You're a little bit of a control freak. And so because of all those things, you're very hard on others, but most of all, you're hard on yourself.
Have we spoken before?
No, but someone called me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I think I might know who that might have been too.
Yeah. The dis-ease of perfectionism is something I talk about in chapter 7. It's out of perfectionism into joy. Perfectionism is a joy and happiness stealer. It will not allow you. It's 100% not a fully toxic barrier between you and your happiness. And if you're hard on yourself, if you're a person that says, no one's harder on me than myself, I'm my own worst critic, I only have 2 words to say to you. Stop it, because you're the problem. You are doing this to yourself.
How do you do that?
The gratitude sandwich, and work with me. You know, the book, the reason why I wrote this is because the process, which I worked on me first, has exercises, and it forces you to do the work that you never really wanted to work. So my guess is, again, a little fortune telling to freak you out. I'm one of the 7 out of 10. I didn't write this book as a psychologist telling you how to be happy. I wrote it as 1 out of 7 out of 10 of us who've had painful pasts, who've had childhood trauma. 7 out of 10 of us have had, the majority, childhood trauma. My honorable moniker, Oprah, says 8 out of 10. There's some psychologists that are 93%. So why is it that the majority of us think there's something wrong with us, that we'll never catch up, and we have to be hard on ourselves in order to get ahead? Why is that? That's bullshitaki. It is a BS belief system that we have to literally shovel out of our souls, mind, body, spirit, because it hurts us, and it will continue to hurt us until we drop that rock of bullshitaki.
How do you do that? Because that is me. 100%. Yep. You are dead on. And the reason is because I feel like if I do lose that I lose my
edge.
Drive to, yes, exactly. So like, I kind of like it, that perfectionist, or, that I just overanalyze everything. It's got to be, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I have to know I gave it everything. And if I pull some of that back, I'm afraid I won't have that same kind of drive and that passion that I've got.
That's because you are a high J personality. Myers-Briggs is one of the only tools that I use because I don't like boxing people in personality curses or anything like that. But it is true. Perfectionists, high achievers tend to have a high J, and J stands for judging, not judgmental, but we can be, where we are, it's either right or wrong, good, bad, black or white. What category does it go in? We need to know. We have to understand it. We have to figure it out. We have to analyze it. We have to get it. And if you say to me, well, it depends, those are horrible words. Or there's a gray area. Those are horrible words. And so for you to say, I don't want to, the only solution to my dis-ease is to not care at all, or become this lazy bastard that sits around and does nothing. Like if you take that drive part of me away, I'm going to be homeless. So we go from one huge extreme and all the way to the other extreme of I'm going to be sucking my thumb, eating
right.
Haagen-Dazs under the covers. I'm not going to do
where's
anything.
The middle ground? Yeah.
So your job is to soothe yourself and find your balanced, centered Craig. So you, Craig, have a balanced, centered Craig somewhere in there who's not driving your life car. Your life car is being driven by your critic. That critic is the taskmaster. It's usually, when I work with people, I have them name their critic. My critic's name is Rose. Guess what my mother's name was? Rose is, right?
Ironic.
So I don't need Rose anymore. I've internalized her, even though she still says I'm fat and all of that, but God bless her. She does the best that she can. But my internalized critic is driving my life over a cliff. It may have worked in my, decades ago, because it helped me accomplish all the things at the earliest age and before anybody else, so that I could be this thing that you put on a pedestal and people say, is there anything you don't do? And you say, oh no, actually, well, cooking, I hate, don't do, I make reservations and I hate cleaning and I'm allergic to hiking. But inside, I've got this critic saying, well, you're not all that. And if they really knew you, they would think that they wouldn't think you were that great. And, you just flavor of the moment. But, if you don't keep this up, you're going to fall, big fall. Blah, 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 blah. And that voice is a very exhausting, horrible that resides in you.
And
so my
loud.
Advice to you is to name your critic, understand that that's who is keeping you from your happiness. And that person, do you have a name?
I don't. I sure as heck wouldn't put it out here right now.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's the person who was the primary, encourager. I call them the motivator. Right. They're well-meaning, but they're more mean than well. So
I didn't have one though, and that's the thing. I had a great childhood. I did have maybe something that was traumatic, but it was a car accident when I was 16. I wouldn't say it was traumatic in the sense of like divorce or abusive parents. I had a phenomenal childhood. I would not want to change one thing. This is all pressure I feel that I've put on myself. I don't feel like I've gotten it from anywhere else, really.
Well, I had a caller on my show, and it was funny. She said the exact same thing as you. And then I said, well, let's just, for the sake of it, call your critic Luella. I just pulled that name out of nowhere. And she's like, oh my God, Luella was my aunt who I thought was perfect. And and I just wanted to be like her. And so it's this internalized standard that I hold for myself. So I don't know. Robert is the name that's coming to me for you. I have no idea why, but let's just call your critic Robert for now. And it'll come out and you'll call me and go, oh my God. But, Robert is your critic. And you can say, Robert, I hear you. I get it. I know you're worried that we're not going to get this and that everything's going to fall apart, but just chill out. We're not homeless. We've done really well here. Have a seat in the passenger seat. Okay. but I got this. And that's the muscle from Balance Centered Craig to talk to Robert on a daily moment by moment basis to soothe. It's a muscle that needs to be worked. It's not a light switch. So as you have this relationship and understand that part of you is just worried, then you can begin to, because nobody's going to do this for you. Nobody can do that for you. No,
Right.
I'm sure 1,000, your wife has probably said, just chill. Don't, I swear she didn't call. Just Jesus, you're so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody can talk you out of that except you.
Yeah.
So
and being that hard on
be
myself makes me hard on other people around me, like my kids when they were in the house and things like that, because I expect certain things. And therefore, because I would do something a certain way or maybe notice something that not everybody else would necessarily notice. And, but then I expect them to feel the same way about it. And I have learned that. And, and so, once you learn it, you can correct it.
Once you become aware.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
That's the hardest part.
No, that's not the hardest part.
Boy.
People say that. The awareness is not the hardest part. The willingness after the awareness is the hardest part. Because you can be aware from now until eternity.
If you don't do
anything about it. But if you're not willing, right? If you're not willing, and the easiest way to willing is understanding consequence. Do you really want the people around you who love you the most to be vomited on or criticized? You have a hard enough time listening to that voice. Can you imagine what it's like for them? And so that becomes the food, the energy, the impetus to begin to be willing to change. That willingness is kind of like a pencil. You don't try. Well, I'll try. I'm trying. Yeah, you're trying. You're really trying, because you don't try to pick up a pencil. You either pick up a pencil or you don't pick up a pencil. You can go through the next 20 years and do exactly what you're doing. And I'll tell you the consequence of that. I'm not even talking about the consequence on the people around you. I'm talking about the consequence on you. Do you really want to wait to feel good for another 20 years? No. Do you really want to do that? Because the feeling good aspect of happiness is now. And if you say, okay, I get it. I promise that if I recover from the economic loss from the pandemic, I will then turn my corner and be okay with things but I got to make up. But hashtag BC19. When I have $1 million in the bank, I'll be happy. First it was, when I was in college, it was like 500,000. And then it was $1 million. And then and then if I have that car, if I have that house, if I have that wife, if I have the kids, if my parents are okay, if I'm okay, if, then I'll be happy. Are you ever going to be happy?
Of all the ways that we take care of those that we love, the most important is providing the care they need when they need it most. Sawyer Health Solutions. Go to SawyerHealthSolutions.com for a free health insurance quote. Never, because you always change the goal. Yeah, you always change the goal.
It's a moving target.
How does like a clinical like depression or anxiety, when it's something that has been diagnosed, there is a chemical imbalance going on in the body. I do believe, and this is just my personal opinion, I do believe that we pop these pills a little bit too quickly without going to the root cause, which is what you're talking about is, hey, let's find out why you're that way. But I also do believe that there are some things inside of our bodies that may be preventing us from being able to do some of those things.
Yeah.
How do the two work together?
It's a little bit of the chicken and the egg. So I thought I was going to do clinical psych. The DSM-3 at the time said that 0.02% of the population were clinically depressed. We went from that until hashtag BC19, 1 out of 4 Americans taking antidepressants, anti-anxiety. That's 25%. You don't go from 0.02 clinically depressed to 25%, right? It's not possible. Therefore, what you're saying has absolutely we are a quick fix society. We want we want to feel good right away. Now, I'm not going to bash pharmaceutical companies because I know people have died from doing it. No, I'm just kidding.
That self-inflicted bullet to the back of the head. Right.
Exactly. I will say that there is a very finite percentage of the population who are chemically imbalanced and do require the medication for the balance. However, I also know that there's a large percentage of the population who are on antidepressants and anti-anxiety and still anxious and depressed. And on top of that, they have side effects. So no suicidal effects before, just depressed. Now we have depression plus suicidal effects. Now we have commercials for if your antidepressant doesn't work, take this so that the antidepressant will work better. It's like, please take a breath and just get the book. Do the exercises. I swear, I promise, if you do the exercise, you will never hate yourself the same way again. This is not a commercial. The book it's not, you don't make money from writing a book. This book I push because it's helping people be happy with themselves without side effects. The only side effect is you might laugh more often. You might cut people some slack more often. You might go easier on yourself. I'm getting chills more often because we're never going to get to world peace if we don't have our own peace of mind and peace of heart. And there's an African American saying I love. It says, when there is no enemy inside, then no enemy outside can hurt us. So the buck stops right over here. And I have to be able to say, okay, here's another tool for you, because you, Mr. Extremist, will say, okay, I'm going to be happy. And then you're going to end up like George Steinfeld's father on Seinfeld, who would go around. Remember that episode where he walked around and he said, okay, I'm going to be happy. So anytime anything bad happened, he went, serenity now. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Serenity now, right? At the end of the show, he bashed and lost $1 million worth of computer equipment because he wasn't happy. So that's why I say 88% happy. Why 88% happy, Dr. Marissa? Good question. Thanks for asking, Greg.
I'm good at this.
100% happy is, you can tell how shy I am. 100% happy is dead. You have no contrast. So for you, I don't want you to be 100% happy. I don't want you to be happy. I don't want you to be happy all the time. 88%. Now, why 88? Well, I know you thought I was Swedish. I'm actually Chinese, and 8 is a lucky number in Mandarin. It's a homonym for good fortune. So 88% happy is our birth rate. So you wake up, you do good. You did the gratitude sandwich. You're feeling good. You go have your breakfast. You sit down. Your kid messes up, man. Messes up something that you've told him 1,000 times not to do that. And he messes up. And you can't catch yourself. Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, screw it. I messed that day up. Let's just go all out and do whatever I do normal. Right. No, you had a 12% moment. Okay. Balance-centered Craig comes out and says, oops, honey, I'm so sorry. I'm working on this. I know you know better and I know better, but we're both going to try to do better. But just go do what you're going to. You can take care of that later. You are actively now allowing yourself to be imperfect 12% of the time. That's going to be the hardest thing for you because you don't give yourself slack. You don't allow yourself the imperfection. You still have a little voice that says, you can be perfect. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And that is bullshit hockey. That is Robert Or I should have called him Richard, like Dick.
There you go. That would be a better fit. But you know what? You're right, because that 12% gives you room to still be human, because I don't think it's got to be unnatural to be happy 100% of the time. That would be a concern of mine. I mean, you still need to mourn the loss of, somebody who passes away. You still need to be sad and have other emotions. So that 12% is adequate time to be human and still experience all the other emotions.
Exactly.
And, one thing too about the happiness thing, my wife has this really good friend of hers we're from Illinois originally, and we're down in Florida now, but this friend of hers lives in Illinois, and she is an amazingly happy person. She's one of these people, not obnoxiously happy. Like it's not annoying. You don't want to smack her because she's just overly happy, right? Mm-hmm. But she finds the positive in everything that she's around. Like they came down here to visit, and you come to Florida to visit, you come to go to the beach and, do all the outdoors things and stuff like that, right? It's beautiful down here. The whole time they're here for like 5 days. It rained for 5 days straight. It never got above 65 degrees. It was just cool and rainy the whole time. They would put garbage bags on, go to the beach. They're like, we're here. We're not missing it. And they'd go out there, and she knows how to really just put a spin on everything and make the most out of it. And it was so refreshing. And she's one of those people you just want to be around. You know what I mean? And I want to be that person too. Like, I don't want to be the person, God dang it, just ruined my entire vacation, rain the whole time. You're already there. Make the most out of it. And I want to be that person. And I hope more people can be.
Yeah. Well, it's a choice. That's why I say happiness is a choice. And I tell you, the number one reason people ask me all the time, one of my hashtags is she's #positively opinionated, which I like.
Yeah.
Why? And I get asked that question all the time. Why are you so happy? Why this? Why this? Why? And I'll tell you the number one reason. It's got nothing to do with my childhood pain. It's got nothing to do with the morality of it. It's got nothing to do with the book. It's got everything to do with it just feels better.
It does. It does.
It just feels better.
Was there something that sparked your interest in this? Like, what was the spark within you to want to take this path in life to spread to others?
One, it feels really good. And whenever I wake up and I don't feel good, I just go to work and I feel better. I do a broadcast on Mondays. Why? Because it starts my week. I have to listen to my own Kool-Aid. Okay. That's why I do that. So I'll tell you, the impetus was a number of things. The anger that I felt for the childhood abuse was so far down buried that, what you don't deal with will come back and deal with you.
Right.
So it was coming back. That was one. It came back in the form of many abused kids will choose partners who remind them they may not, they rarely physically abuse, but the feeling of being not good enough, they find someone, and I found someone who continued to feed me that validation that I was not good enough. That, every day he told me I was not funny. And I'm funny.
You're darn funny. Yeah.
But I picked him, and I went through an extremely expensive divorce where I paid out and lots of money. And my lawyer said to the judge, "But Your Honor, that's not fair." And the judge looked at me and said, "Well, you wanted equal rights." So that's another interview.
That is the price you can. So there is a price you can pay for happiness.
Yes, there is a price you can pay.
You found exactly what that price was.
That's why chapter 5 is called "Out of Hatred into Forgiveness." So when all the things that had been buried were coming to the surface, is when I said, I can't do this anymore. Numbing myself with alcohol wasn't working. Surrounding myself with achievement wasn't working. Nothing was working. I was not happy. So it was literally a personal, okay, this is not working. There's got to be another way. So that's what started me on this. And what's interesting is, the book, I wasn't planning. I knew one day I would write a book, but it really wasn't going to be this soon. I thought it was going to be a retirement activity. And I had a $200,000 consulting project with a very big company here fall through. I get a phone call, unexecuted copy of the contract in my hand. Your sponsoring executive is fired. No project. And I'm like, ah! And this is good for you to know too. You don't go to Serenity now. You go, bah! And get totally feel fully everything that you're feeling. Feel fully. When you're pissed, be pissed. Don't do it in front of people, but be pissed somewhere for 16 seconds and just stomp your feet or, take a plastic bat to a leather couch or something that can literally release all of that because negative energy takes more than positive. So what I do is I'll stomp my feet. I'll bite my pillow. I used to scream, but I sing. So I do a silent scream.
That wouldn't do it for me.
Not pretty.
But I'll tell you what, going on that, I'm a drummer. And I'll tell you what, drums are great when you're trying to get out frustration. You're beating the hell out of something and it's productive. Yeah.
Well, I played the timpani in high school. My nickname was Boom Boom. Not many people know that. But anyways, so
thanks for sharing.
After I do that, then I say, and you can write this down, I can't wait to see what good comes out of this, with as little or as much sarcasm as you'd like.
Okay.
And once you say that, then the universe opens up. And the universe said to me, write. And I said, I don't have time to write. And the universe, who has a sense of humor, says, you do now. So I went upstairs and I wrote for a week. First chapter, Out of Loneliness and Hope. Last chapter, Out of Control into Happiness. Got the following day after I finished the chapters, I got an email from a West Coast publisher. We follow motivational speakers on LinkedIn. Are you writing anything? I'm like, are you kidding me? I got an offer the next day. I got 3 offers on the book and then boom, it's out. So that's going to tie in to the original question you asked me. How can I stay positive even in the middle of the pandemic? How do I be happier even when there's all this crap going on? Einstein says the most important question a human being has to answer is the universe friendly or not? Craig, is the universe friendly or not? If you say it's not friendly, have you seen what's going on around here? You hear all the gunshots, you see all the hate crimes, it's not friendly. Okay. If you say it is not friendly, guess what? You will see evidence on a moment by moment basis of all the crap that can happen because you believe the universe is not friendly. I'm going to ask you to put your rose-colored glasses on and say, you know what? Yeah, shift is happening all over the place, but I woke up this morning. The planets did not crash last night. I did not have to tell my body to digest my food. I know when I walk out to the beach that every single forking grain of sand is unlike the other, like the snowflakes in Canada and the leaves and the blades of grass. That's not random. Okay. That's a friendly universe at work. And so I may not understand all of this shiitake that's going on right now, but I trust in a friendly universe. Why? Because it feels better. I don't have to hold my breath. I don't have to hold my breath going, oh my God, who's going to get me? What's going to happen? I can just, all right, we're going to roll with this one. I can't wait to see what good comes out of this.
And just because just because you see positive in everything doesn't mean that you cannot acknowledge that there are negative things happening too. So it's one of my poor ways of thinking or previous ways. And I've long gotten rid of this, but sometimes you're like, yeah, you know what? But, I'm going to be happy. Are you just saying that none of this stuff is happening? No, all this stuff is still happening in the world, but it only seems overwhelming because, like you said earlier, that's what sells. The negative thing sells. When you pass a car accident, you stare at it. Everybody's interested in the negative things, but there's so much more positive going on around us. We just don't acknowledge it because we're so taken with that. So you don't have to necessarily ignore the fact that all these other bad things are still going on in the world that we need to fix to make it an even better world. But the fact is the world is 88% good, right?
88% good. And all the things that are happening are opportunities for us to expand and grow more as humankind, emphasis on kind, individually, collectively. It's a ride, man. It's a joyride of life. There's so many stops. INTBOAD. It's not that big of a deal. And when it is a big of a deal, like George Floyd and racism and Asian American hate crimes, it is a big deal. But if you come at it from that angry, poor me victim, nothing is ever going to change, overwhelm, you will not find a solution. You will not be able to catch the vision of what that solution can be.
I agree. And those are the things that are happening right now that, I had a show last year that attacked the racism and, the BLM movement and everything last year that was happening. And I know we're seeing it right now with Asian hate going on. And I think it's just the narrative changes, the focus changes. And, say like, even with the police brutality, things like that, it's just topic of the day. Now, granted, these things all happen. And I don't want anybody to ever brush it under the rug. We need to face these things head on, but don't get overwhelmed and think that it is all that happens. Like it's not, every white man is not racist. Every cop is not bad. It's not even remotely close. The amount of good in this world so overwhelmingly squashes the amount of bad in this world. And it's such a shame that little tiny percent of horrible people and horrible decisions and horrible events gets so much attention.
Yeah. And what you permit, you promote. So the good thing about all of this stuff is that there's, woke people's not a bad thing. You have the ones who went to Capitol Hill. I got no hope, but there's hope for white men and women who didn't understand the extent that racism still exists in America. They cannot deny it now. I have friends who's like, until George Floyd, I didn't really get it. I thought people were still playing victim, but I get it. They're not playing victim. It's true. If you haven't watched 13th, as the documentary, it's amazing. If you haven't watched US versus Billie Holiday, go watch it. There's no more room for hashtag justifiable ignorance. That's what we don't have time for. We do have time for first finding in yourself that place of positive, solution-oriented, love-based energy, that then you can shine that light. Dr. Martin Luther King, it's not dark, it's light. Then we can do this. If someone says to you, you're racist, instead of going, how dare you call me a racist just because I'm white or just because I have Asian friends and I eat Chinese food. How dare you call me a racist? And then when someone says, actually, that's kind of a racist thing, the best thing for both parties in balance is take the breath. You notice how I say this all the time. Take the breath. Why do I say that? Because it connects us all. If I take a breath, I don't take nothing from you. Right? So take the collective breath and then ask yourself, is it possible? I don't mean to be racist, but the impact of what I'm saying may be racist. If I can just ask that question, it does so much to open the dialogue. The other thing is, since you brought that up, is if you don't understand why something is the way it is, I have close friends who say, I don't get it. Dr. Marissa, Oriental rug, Orient Express, it's in the Orient. Why is that such a bad word? And my response to them is, I'm not going to spend 2 hours telling you why to try to get you to understand. You may never understand why that term bothers some people. You may never understand why some women don't like the word lady. You may never understand why someone wants their door open and why some others don't want their door open. The point is to not try to understand it. And for you, Craig, you're an analyzer. You want to figure it out. If I understand it, then I can embrace it. that is not going to help us because we're not going to understand where others are coming from. If you don't have an ancestry that has not passed the lynching law, you're going to be in a different place than, signing something, in front of a plantation picture. So that all of those things, if we can take the understanding and just leave in the respect, I don't have to understand it, but I choose to respect where you're coming from because I want to build a bridge and not a wall. Then we have some solution going. But the kind of person to be able to do that has to be super solid in themselves. If you're not solid in yourselves and you're looking for love in all the wrong places and you're looking for someone to validate you, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. And I think just taking the time to listen because
what?
Exactly. Taking the time to listen to each other. And on that show I had last year, he was a black man. I'm a white man. I have no clue what it's like to be a black male in America. But he also has no clue what it's like being a white male in America. We just don't. We have no way of knowing that.
Yeah.
So the only way to try to at least get people to at least think about it, not understand. I've never lost a sibling to cancer. My wife has. I understand that it hurts. I understand her loss. I don't understand how she feels. I can't. I've not been through it. So, and I would never want to assume that either because I think that is disrespectful to just assume that you know how people feel. So the conversation I had with him was amazing. We loved each other and we could say what we had to say because it was out of mutual respect. So even though I disagreed with some of the things that were happening, and I'll even say it on this episode, I agreed 100% with the BLM movement. I disagree with many of not all, but many of the ways that it was carried out. I didn't think it was productive. I'm more of the Martin Luther King type.
Nonviolence.
Yeah, holding arms and, strength in numbers, get your voice heard without screaming. And, but it's easy for me to say because I'm not the one feeling that rage, right? And I do get that as well. So, but we're able to disagree respectfully. And my God, where did that go? And we could do a whole nother episode or 10 just on this. So we're actually out of time. So I don't want to get too buried into that. But, I wanted to put that out there just because I know that is one of the topics that you do discuss. Yes. And I think it's certainly something that we should be discussing. We're hearing a lot about it, but we're not hearing discussions. We're hearing headlines. We are a people of headlines anymore, right? In the social media days, scroll. We live in headlines and the headlines don't tell the whole story,
No.
And
I have a thing called heartlines instead of headlines. So
I like that.
That's where we got to go.
I like that.
Yeah.
Marissa, we're out of time. Please tell everybody how they can get a hold of the book, how they can reach you and, plug away. This is your shot here.
Thank you. So if you just Google Dr. Marissa, you'll find me. My virtual home is drmarissa.life with a capital L. And social media, I'm trying to migrate everyone after 646 consecutive weeks on the air on camera to my YouTube channel, even though I'm syndicated on the CNBC and I'm on every other platform. But YouTube channel, if you subscribe there, you'll get alerts of when I am going live. If you could, please, if you shop on Amazon, go to Smile Amazon and put in 8 Ways to Happiness. That's my nonprofit. It helps children, young adults, and teens with feelings and happiness. So whatever you buy on Amazon, the price is still the same, but a little bit goes towards that nonprofit. You can get my book everywhere. Amazon, it went #1. Denver Post, it went #4, 8 bestseller lists. I'm grateful for that. Endorsed by Layla Ali and New York Times bestseller, Neil Donald Walsh, forward by Michael Bernard Beckwith. You can get this Walmart, Target, Amazon, but if you want a signed copy, which I would love, I say, beloved, your name, you are beautiful, love Dr. Marissa. That's at my website, drmarissa.life. It's also an audio book, and the children's book, Mommy, What Are Feelings, is also available there for a donation to the nonprofit.
Marissa, thank you. You are a golden heart and something that we need so much right now. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I appreciate what you do and the message you're putting out there. All I ask is that you produce a lot of other people exactly like you. And I think we'll all be in a much happier world. So thank you.
Thank you for inviting me on, and thank you for letting me use you as a victim volunteer.
You can use me all you want. I know, I did. You know what? I loved every minute of it. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this week. Go to our website at thebizreveal.com to catch all of our past episodes. We're available on all podcast apps, or you can watch any of our episodes on the Biz Reveal YouTube channel. I'm Craig Sawyer, and this is the Biz Reveal. Till next time.